All right, more Emerson today. Actually, more of this biography by Robert Richardson. Um, can you hear that? That's my dog with a squeaky toy. I have two dogs. They both are up here with me right now. One of them with a little squeaky toy. So you'll probably hear that throughout the video. Um, it is freezing here in Pittsburgh. It's a Sunday afternoon, and normally we would be out at the symphony. We have a subscription Sunday afternoons, but not today. It is single digits, dropping into minus. That is in Fahrenheit, which is very cold. It's also snowing, and so we just said let's stay in. I'm pointing over to my Euro rack. I've been working on a piece that I hope to release on the 28th, which is the commemoration date of when my friend Lowry passed. It would be 5 years this year. He died in January, just before all of that COVID stuff started happening. I think several of you who watch these know Lowry, so let's get together. Let's get together and reminisce. Lowry would approve of this Emerson series. I think he was really an embodiment of that, like, American transcendental connection to nature. In fact, the line I'm responding to today, now that I think about it, really holds true with Lowry. Lowry was the most remarkable person that I've ever met, and an artist and a sculptor and a painter, and a poet, and a profoundly intuitive philosopher. In this chapter of the book, Emerson is writing the essays that would become Nature, which is sort of his first really significant publication. Our age is retrospective, Emerson writes. Our age is retrospective. It builds the sepulchres of the fathers. It writes biographies, histories, and criticism. While earlier generations beheld God and nature face to face, why should not we also enjoy an original relation to the universe? Why should not we have a poetry and philosophy of insight and not of tradition, and a religion of revelation to us, and not the history of theirs? The idea that revelation continues. Emerson, always thinking of religion, spirituality, Christianity, and his relationship to that. Why shouldn't we today, he then, continue to evolve the relationship with the mystery? Whether that's from the pulpit, speaking of Unitarian Christianity, speaking of Calvinism, the kind of issues that were hot topics while Emerson was alive. Today, even more so, fragmented belief structures that really do hold the promise for such enormous insight into the nature of our mind, the nature of our brain, the nature of our spirit, and nature, the world outside, and the interaction between the two, and yet this potential. I think if Emerson were alive today, he would see it as a potential that we were failing to take advantage of. Perhaps if Emerson were alive today, we would have his voice of rational exuberance, irrational rationality. One of the other ideas that comes from this biography is that Emerson's essays are aphoristic. It's like a series of pokes to the head or laser beams into the brain. Build and build and build. Compared to Thoreau, who was equally insightful, equally revealed to, but followed a narrative and used a narrative structure, his own narrative, whether it was at Walden or out for a walk. I'm just reading Thoreau's essay, A Winter Walk. And it's a real model for how I would like to write. But the mystery is open to us. Look, why not? One of the reasons I'm reading Emerson is because I'm troubled and struggling with how to assimilate not just the political situation that we're in, but the way that we talk about the politics. And not just politics like the horse race of who's winning and who's chair of this committee and what crazy shit is going on wherever, or what terrible catastrophe and poor response or magnificent heroic response. The way we talk about all of that stuff is so deleterious. So I started reading Emerson towards the end of last year, towards the end of 2024, to see if there was some way of arriving at a political interaction. And I'm using politics in the most general word. I mean the body politic. Like, what is it to be civically oriented? So, if we are looking at nature, and nature meaning the universe, which to us today is vastly expanded even from what Emerson knew about. Was it Herschel, the astronomer who first started to show that the telescope proved, the visual telescope proved the enormous size of the universe, and with it the deep time, a real shift in time. We know even more with our telescopes that they orbit the Earth. Can you say they're floating in orbit? You don't float in orbit, do you? They're in orbit, the Hubble, the Webb, and so we can see practically to the end of the universe. We can see to the end of our known universe. This is a revelation, and it should change the way that we think about wisdom. Okay, so why not apply that to how our society is structured? Why not revisit the U.S. Constitution? We know more now than we did 250 years ago, 300 years ago. We know more. And yet we're fragmented in a really maladaptive. So, Emerson, in his nature essays, is describing nature, but even more than that, is promoting, providing, provoking a a different sense of interaction, come up with a different set of questions and answers than what he does. But let them be real and true today, for you, for me, because it's from that revelation, and a revelation in the spiritual sense, like an understanding of our place in the universe. And I guess that is as good as any definition of what I think of as spiritual study. Understand the nature of what it is to be human as it interacts with the nature of what it is to be the universe. And where's that ebb and flow and that give and take? And I think if our politicians also thought about things like that, we'd have a very different world. Maybe one that we all still disagree deeply, but maybe one where the arguments are about the definition of virtue and a good life, and what does it mean to be happy, and how can we best flourish? How can we best entitle the flourishing life to the broadest group of people, which maybe would be my definition of what politics is, as a unified entity, as a civilization. What can we do to promote the flourishing of humanity? And we can argue about what we mean by flourishing, and we can argue about how to arrive at that. But what if it were all founded on our own acknowledged revelations, and let those truths be what we try to articulate? The cosmos, right? Capital K, cosmos, is what Emerson talked about. This channel is my effort to figure that out. And as much as you are excited by that, or interested in it, or disagreeing with it, that's what I want to do here. And these daily notes are a good way of practicing that, right? So if you've made it this far, 13 minutes in, and you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And if you already are a subscriber, find someone to share it with. And let's share this. So, cheers. Oh, keep your wits about you, right? And read Emerson.